Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Alex Tabora, and I am responsible, like Chris mentioned, for training and application support at CODESYS Corporation. The name of this session is Getting Started with CODESYS, and like the name implies, this is a session for people who are new to CODESYS. We're going to talk about very basic concepts, so to help those who are just getting to know or want to know what CODESYS is. CODESYS is an extremely powerful tool with a large number of features, and we do have training classes to teach about them. But the intention of this session is just to give you an introduction to CODESYS and help you get started with developing simple applications. I will start by describing what CODESYS is, focusing on its two core components. We have the development system and the runtime. Then I will show you how to obtain these two components, how to obtain the development system, how to obtain the runtime. And then I will do a live demo to show you the workflow and how to create a very simple project. This is not a programming class, it's just how to get around in CODESYS, how to start with a simple application and get you familiar with it. And in the last point, I will be sharing with you some learning resources to take your knowledge to the next level. Okay, let's get started. So what is CODESYS? CODESYS stands for Controller Development System. Some people call it CODESYS, and some of us call it CODESYS. The letters in our old logo, this is our new logo, the letters in our old logo were in camel case, and the pronunciation was CODESYS. Our logo changed a couple of years ago, and now the letters, as you can see here, are in all caps. So the new official marketing approved pronunciation, it's CODESYS, but nobody's wrong. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. CODESYS or CODESYS is fine. CODESYS is the leading manufacturer-independent development environment for programming control applications according to the international standard IEC 61131-3. To put it simply, it's a fully featured software tool to program PLCs in compliance with the IEC 61131-3 standard. This standard specifies the syntax and semantics of programming languages for programmable controllers. These programming languages are function block diagram, you see a little picture symbol here, ladder diagram, instruction list, which is obsolete, but is still available, and it's part of the standard, structured text, and sequential function chart. Here are some of the main benefits for CODESYS users. First, it is a state-of-the-art IEC 61131-3 programming system. About 40% of our staff is dedicated to product development, and that enables us to have a product that is continuously improving. We release one service pack per year that includes many new features and improvements, and bug fix patches are released every 2 months. Second, the CODESYS development system is free of charge. So you can develop your project in any of the programming languages. You can debug it, test it, all that without having to spend any money on software or hardware. Third, CODESYS is manufacturer independent. We don't make any hardware. But over 400 device manufacturers offer controllers that are programmable with CODESYS. So you're not tied to a single hardware vendor. You can find the hardware that perfectly suits your needs at the price that you like, and you don't have to be tied to them if you change your mind in the future. Another benefit of being manufacturer independent is that we are not locked into a proprietary communications protocol. CODESYS supports all the major field buses and industrial Internet of Things communication protocols. So there are many more benefits, but I would consider those the main ones. So continuing on defining what Codesys is, or trying to understand what Codesys is, let's talk about the two main components. So we have the Codesys development system, and we have Codesys control, also called the runtime. So the development system is the controller programming software. That is what we install on our machine and that we use to program our application or our program. This runs on our Windows PCs, and it's free of charge. So that would go here in this picture on the laptop. And then we have Codesys control, or the runtime, and that runs on the controller, and this executes the application that we download to it from our PC. Okay, so we have the development system and Codesys control, or the Codesys runtime. Okay, so how do we get these two components? The Codesys development system is available free of charge at the Codesys Store North America. Let me show you the website. So we're right here. You simply go to us.store.codesys.com. You can create an account. You click on sign in, and if you don't have an account, you create an account. If you already have one, you simply sign in, and then you look for the Codesys development system. Is right there on the main page. But if you're navigating and you want to get back to it, you can just search for it. You type Codesys development system, or you look in the engineering section. And then you can see there that we have two versions available. We have the 32-bit and 64-bit versions right there. So if I click on the details, now I'm taken to the page where I can actually download them. So you can see here the light blue download buttons will get you the latest version. So we're at 3.5.17.1 or 10. So if you hit any of those two buttons, it will download this version. If for some reason you need an older version, there's a versions tab here on the website. And you click on versions, and you can see, you can scroll down to the version you need. You can go back to version 3.5.9.40. That's from November 2016. Okay. Then once you install the Codesys development system, you get also, as part of the installation, Codesys Control Win. Okay. So this is the Codesys runtime for Windows-based systems. Okay, you will find it in the Windows system tray. So for example, I install Codesys on my machine, and then after installation, this is the system tray. You would click on this little arrow here to show any hidden icons if you don't see them all. And you will see that there's a Codesys Control Win here. I have the two versions. I installed the 32-bit version. So I have Codesys Control Win 32-bit, and I have Codesys Control 64-bit. So they look like a PLC. So what is this? So this is the Codesys runtime for Windows-based systems. If you bought an industrial PC that is Windows-based, you would install Codesys Control Win on that device. So this Codesys Control Win is the same. That will be the same runtime that you would install on a Windows-based industrial PC. So you have it on your laptop. So it is fully featured, but will only run for 2 hours at a time. When it stops, all you have to do is go back to the system tray, right-click on the icon, and start the PLC. and it will run for another 2 hours. So this means that you can use your PC as a fully featured PLC. You might not want to use your PC to control industrial application, but you certainly could. It's fully featured. You're able to connect to external hardware and control remote I/O. It supports Modbus TCP and serial, can open, J1939, Ethernet IP, EtherCAT, Profinet, Profibus, and Circos. It also has an OPC UA server that you can use to serve data to other devices. It also comes with a demo version of Codesys visualization. That is the Codesys tool to create HMI screens. And you can have them show either on a local monitor or on another computer on your network using a web browser. And of course, if you want to have uninterrupted operation, you can buy a license and activate that on your machine or in a Codesys dongle. So you will break that 2-hour limitation. Since you may not want to use your PC as the controller for your application, you need to have hardware with the Codesys Runtime so it can run your application. So you have two options. You can get a controller that comes equipped with the Codesys Runtime, or you can get any industrial PC and install the Codesys Runtime on it. So to find Codesys ready devices, you can visit our device directory at devices. This is the address right here, devices.codesys.com. It's not a complete list, but it will give you a very good idea about what's out there. So let me show you. I'll go there. This is the device directory page. And here you can see that we have hundreds of controllers available, and you can use the filters here to view the controllers that would meet your needs. There are also devices with their own adaptation of Codesys. Device manufacturers can adapt the Codesys Runtime to almost any platform with the Codesys Runtime toolkit. And then they can customize it with the features they choose. They can add the field bus they want, they can add soft motion, they can add visualization, they can add safety. And the device manufacturers can also change the look and feel of the Codesys development system. So instead of downloading the Codesys development system from the Codesys store, you would go to their own website and you would download their own version of the Codesys development system. Some examples of these device manufacturers that have adapted the Codesys Runtime into their own platform are PLCs by Opto22, for example, Schneider, Eaton, Beckhoff, Wago, amongst many others. So you can either, like I said, you have two options. You can get a device, Codesys ready device from a device manufacturer, or the other option is to select your own hardware and install Codesys Control on it. Codesys Control is available as a ready-to-use product for several standard platforms. If you go to the store and you look for soft PLCs, for example, you can get a Linux-based industrial PC and install the Codesys Control for Linux SL Runtime. You can do the same with a Windows-based PC. You can buy a runtime for a Raspberry Pi or a Wago PFC 100 or PFC 200, for example. Now, after you get that, how to install the runtime onto a device, installation is very simple, actually. If it's a Windows-based industrial PC, you just get the installer and you run it from that PC. For a Linux-based system, for example, you install the runtime package on your PC. So you would go to the store, download the package, install the package. It will get installed on your PC. And then from the Codesys development system, you will have a new item called Update Linux. I'll show you that. So this is the Codesys development system, and under Tools, you will see an option to update Linux. Or if you install the Raspberry Pi runtime package, you will see the option to update Raspberry Pi or PLC Next. I have here. So for update Linux, you click on that, and then you enter the username and password for that device. You look for it by the IP address, and then there's the option to install the runtime package. You hit install, it will install the runtime on the PC, and then you're ready to go. Without a license, the runtime will run, like I mentioned, with the 2-hour limitation. So you can actually go and download you have a Linux device, for example, or Raspberry Pi, you can actually install the runtime without buying the license, but it will run for 2 hours at a time, just like Control Win on your PC. So you would have to buy a license. To license it, you need to purchase a license from the Codesys store, and then you will receive an activation ticket. And activation is done. The simplest way to do it is from the development system. There's an option, Tools, License Manager, and then you select Device because you want to activate the license on a device or PLC. Hit Next, and then you decide, do you want to install that license on a Codesys dongle or USB stick, Codesys USB stick, or on the actual device? We'll call that soft container. You hit Next, and then you search, you scan the network for that device, you select it, and hit OK. And then the next step will be to click on Install License, and that's where you enter that activation ticket. You activate it, and that device is now licensed. Okay, so how to start your first project? Let's take a look at that. Okay, so I'm here already. I have my Codesys development system open. Okay, so you went to the store, you installed it, and then you can run it, and you will see something like this. You will see this is how it starts. So here we have the start page. You can see the tab right here called Start Page, and we find basic operations. We find recent projects, and we see latest news. In the basic operations options, we find create new project, or open an existing project, or open a project stored on a controller. So like you're pulling the code or the project from the PLC. Then we have recent projects, where the most recent open projects are listed, and you can pin them or remove them if you don't want to see them in this list. If I want to keep this always in my list, I pin it and it will stay there. And then the news page, which you can change to whatever web page you like. You go to the tools, and then that will be options. And then you can go to the start page, and you can change this website to be something, maybe your company website. But by default, is the Codesys news page, so you can see the latest news. On the left side, we see the devices window. If you don't see it, if you're following along, just go to View and then Devices. And then you should be able to see this window. If for some reason all your windows are all over the place, you can go to Window and then Reset Window Layout, and that will reset the window layout to the default. And that sometimes is helpful if you have multiple screens, for example. Okay, so this is where we start. Then to be able to create a project, well, you need to define a target device. And so let me show you this. You go to Tools, and then you go to the device repository. And this is what I can use in my projects. You can see under PLCs, I have a bunch of different PLC options. I have some from IFM up to 22, this Epic, Eaton, Bear, Eaton. Many of those you won't have in your installation because they don't come by default. You have to get an installer to put them in your device repository. So all the controls that I can use in my applications can be found here in my device repository. Okay, if the device you need is not shown in your repository, then you need to get what is called a device description file. And you have to install it in the repository using this button here called install. If you have a Codesys ready device, you need to get that device description from the hardware vendor. But if you get a Codesys control runtime from the Codesys store, when you go install that package on your PC, that device description file will be installed in your repository in that process of installing that package. So the easiest way to start a project is to use the standard project template. So we start by clicking on New Project from here, or you can go to File, New Project, and then you will see this window here. We have different options and categories, templates, name, location. So what we have to do to pick the standard project template is that we have to make sure the categories, we select projects instead of libraries. We want to start with a project, and then we'll see all these 4 templates. Okay, so if you select the standard project, you can see the description here. This is a project containing 1 device, 1 application, and an empty implementation for PLC PRG. So this template gives us the basic components that we need for all projects. So projects, standard project, and then we need to specify a name for the project, or you can leave it like that on title 1, but it's better to give it a meaningful name. So I'll call this my first project. And then you pick a location where you want to store that file. I'm fine with that. So I click OK. So just wait a couple of seconds. And then this window comes up and it's asking you, okay, what's the target device? As you can see here, I can look at the options that I have, and all these options come from my device repository. So anything that is on my device repository, it'll be shown here. So I can pick any of these target devices. I will pick Codesys Control Win because I want to test this project in the Control Win running right here on my laptop. And then the second question is PLC PRG in what language? You have to pick the language, the programming language that we want to use for this program. Okay, so you can see that we can pick continuous function chart, function block diagram, ladder diagram, sequential function chart, or structured text. So I have to select the language for this program that's going to be called PLC PRG. This doesn't mean that our whole project will be in the programming language that we select here, because later on I can add additional programs or functions or function blocks in any other language. It just means that this starting program will be implemented in the ladder logic diagram. So that's what I select, hit OK. And wait a couple of seconds. Okay, and now we see that the devices window gets populated with what we call a device tree. At the top, right here, we see the name of the project. That's my first project. Then we see our device. Device is this name here is just the name of the PLC. and I can change that to identify it within my project, but by default it's named device. And then here in parentheses, we see Codesys Control Win v364, and that is the target, that's the type of runtime that I'm targeting. Okay, so this device that I will connect to should be running a Codesys Control Win v3 64-bit runtime. Then under the device, we see PLC logic. And this object here is just used to group all the programmable objects for a PLC. So it's just for organizational purposes. So you need that PLC logic, and everything under here, it's programmable. So at the top, we see application. And a basic application will have a library manager. So we can see here, at least one program, we have that, and a task. We have a task configuration, and under this task configuration, we already have a task. So so we're ready to start with implementing our application. Now let's take a look at the library manager. Okay, so I double click to open it. So every application will have a library manager. Libraries have functions, function blocks, data types, and other elements that you can use for different applications. Here you can see that I have five libraries. The first four are in light gray, and that means that these libraries were added by Codesys by default and these get added in every project. So these are required in every project. The last library was added we picked to start this project using the standard project template, and that template adds this library automatically. And any other libraries that you might add manually will be shown in black. So I'll click on this library, and then I can use Control click to expand all the folders. And you can see that this library comes with timers. There's a timer section here, comes with counters, string functions, and other commonly used functions and function blocks. If you click on any of these objects, I'll click on the TON. Then you get a view of its inputs and outputs, summary, and the type. You get a graphical view of how this function block will look in a graphical language. And then there's a documentation tab, and here you can see a description of the object and how to use it. So documentation right there in the library. There are many other libraries available from Codesys and also third parties. If you go to the store, go back here to the store, and you search for library. Then here you will see a list of all the available libraries. Let me click on this view. This is better, so you can see more. Okay, so we have a new one right here, Object-Oriented Alarming Library, brand new, MS SQL library, and you can click on them to download the documentation and learn what they do. Some of them come with demo versions, so you can test them without buying a license. Some of them are free, as you can see. Some of them are paid. For example, we have the control loop library, which has function blocks for process control, like PID controllers. You can see some screenshots here for the library, and then you can download the documentation or download and test it. A lot of them come with an example project that you can open, and it teaches you how to use the library. Okay, so going back to the Codesys development system. So after you install a library, you just go to the library manager, and then you add the library. You hit the add library button, you look for the library, and you add it to your project. And now you can use those functions and function blocks and data user types in your application. So this is the library manager. Then the next object in the device tree is our PLC PRG program. We're going to skip it for now to talk about the task configuration. Okay, so we have the task configuration. Your main program has to be assigned to a task so it can be executed. So this object here is our main program. It has to be assigned to a task in order to run. Okay, you can see here we have PLC. It's under the main task. So PLC will be run by this task called main task. If we double click on main task, we can see that is cyclic. That's the type, it's cyclic. And that the cycle time, it's 20 milliseconds. So this means that any programs assigned to this task will be executed every 20 milliseconds. So we expect that PLC PRG will be run cyclically every 20 milliseconds. If I don't assign a program to a task and don't call it anywhere else, it will never get executed. Okay, so now we can talk about our program, our PLC PRG. So the standard project template calls it PLC PRG, but you can just right click on it and change its name. That's just the name of your starting program. So I decided to start this program in ladder diagram previously from the little standard project template wizard. And you can see here that it has an icon. It's very small. Some of you might not be able to see it, but it's has a contact symbol indicating that this program is implemented in ladder diagram. So I have it open already. So all you have to do is, let me close all this. You double click to open it. And when we open it, we can see the program editor. So this is the program editor. We can see a toolbox on the right side. And this toolbox has elements that correspond to the programming language. So if I were in CFC, I would see CFC elements in the toolbox. If I were in SFC, I would see SFC elements in the toolbox. Right now, we're on ladder diagram, so we see ladder diagram elements. So you can see also that the toolbar, this is the toolbar, now shows ladder logic elements. So I can also not only can use the toolbox to add elements to my program, I can use the toolbar as well. Or you can see also that when you open ladder diagram program, you will get a new menu. You get the FBD, LD, IL menu. And here you see options to insert different ladder diagram elements into your application. So you have 3 ways to do the same thing. I personally prefer the toolbox. It's right there. I just have to drag and drop. Now here, if we take a look at our program editor, we see that there are 2 sections. We see this top section here, this bottom section, and there's a line in between that we can move up and down. Okay, so this top section, we call it the declaration area. And I will make it bigger so you can have a better look. We can zoom in, 150. That should be a little better for you guys. And this area contains the type. This is a program, contains the name of the program. And here's where local variables are declared. So we have a var and end var section. Here's where we declare local variables. We can also create another section with a different scope. Could be for constants, or for if we were working with a function block, we can declare variables that are inputs or variables that are outputs to that function block. We're going to keep it simple. We're just going to create local variables here. So in order to create a variable, I can press enter, and now I can, everything in between var and n var will be local variable. Okay, so I can declare a variable. I call it my var. That's the name of the variable. And then I need to use colon and then specify the type. I will make this an integer. So that's one way to declare a variable, by just simply typing, by remembering the syntax, the name, colon, the type, semicolon. Another way to declare variables is to use the auto declare. You simply place your cursor where you want to put that new variable. You press Shift F2, and that way you now have a simple form that you can fill. You give the name. I'll make this my preset time. You specify the type, and if you don't know the syntax for that type, you can click on this arrow, select Input Assistant, and then you can look at the options. These are the data types, standard data types that you can use. Okay, so I want that to be a timer, a time type variable. Click time. It's filled out for you. And you can initialize variables. If you don't know the syntax, you click on the this button here, and you can see the current initial value is 0 milliseconds. I can just double click on that and change that to, let's say, 10 seconds. And then hit OK. OK one more time. And now I have this variable declared with the right type and initialized to 10 seconds. Then we have the implementation area. This is the bottom part here. And this is where we create our programming logic. Okay, in this section at the top will look the same in any programming language that you select, declaration area, but the implementation area obviously will look different. If it's ladder, it will have networks, and networks, if it's structured text, it will be a text implementation area. Okay, so let's do a simple application. Very, very simple. What we have to do here is implement the logic to control a freight elevator. So what we have here, we have a freight elevator, and there's a motor, and this motor receives two digital signals to control its direction. You can go in one way to move the elevator upwards, or in the other direction to move the elevator downwards. So to control that, if it goes in one direction or the other one, we have two push buttons to choose the direction we want the elevator to go. So we have a go up or go down. We also have limit switches, one that activates when the elevator is at the lowest position, and then we have another one that activates when it's at its highest position. So that will tell us when to stop the motor. And then we're also given an emergency stop switch to stop the elevator at any time. Okay, so we're given some hardware, and then we have Codesys, the development system, and we can start developing our control application. Okay, so we can start by declaring our control variables. Okay, so what do we have? I can start, like, I will remove this. This is not part of my application. So I can start with the inputs. The inputs I have are the push buttons, the limit switches, and the emergency stop. So I can start by typing. I can declare this push button. I will call this up. And this is a Boolean variable, so it's true or false. So I can do that by typing again, or I can call the auto declare to declare the next variable. This would be PB underscore down. This is a Boolean. And then, okay. So I have those two variables. So those are my push buttons. Then I can also, of course, can do copy paste for the next one. And then just have to change the name This will be my limit switch. Limit switch elevator is down. Another one, elevator is up. And the last one would be emergency stop, another Boolean variable. Okay, so those are the signals that I am receiving from push buttons, limit switches, and the emergency stop. Then we can declare our motor direction control outputs. So I will declare a variable called move up. Also a Boolean. And then another variable called move down. Also a Boolean. Okay, so those are all the variables that I need. Then now I can implement the control logic. So let's start with the control signal to move the elevator up. So to do that, I need to, when I press the push button to go up, the elevator needs to move up. So I can see here at the ladder elements, and I can add a contact. And it shows me where I can put this contact here. I can put it up here, here, or here. So I want it here. And so I need a contact and I need a coil. So I'll put this right here. So when I press the push button to go up, I should send the move up signal to the motor. So I can type here, or I can just select the variable and drag it. Same here, move up, select, and drag it. So when I press the up button, it moves up. Okay, so what should stop this movement? Well, the emergency stop. So I will add a negated contact here. So like I showed you, I can drag this variable here, or I can start typing emer, and I can hit control space to autocomplete. That's a nice feature. So emergency stop, if it's not pressed and I press the button, move up. Another condition that I need to add is that I don't want to keep moving the motor if the elevator has hit the limit switch at the top. So I can add another limit switch here. Sorry, a negated contact. And this will be ls control space to autocomplete. And now, since there are two variables that start with the same name, I am given an option to select. So I can use the up and then arrows to select the one I want. So I want that. And also, I don't want to move up while I'm moving down. So another condition here that I add. And sorry, move down. Oops. Move down. Okay. And since we have push buttons, the motor will stop when I release the push button. I don't want that. I just want to press the push button and move up until the elevator reaches the limit switch. So I will add a latch here, and you can see here that I can add a parallel contact. I can just drag it, and I want to put it here. And now I will say move up. Okay, so I latch this control signal. When it's on, it'll stay on until any of these conditions set it to false. Okay, so this is the logic to move the elevator up. The logic to move the elevator down is exactly the same. So I can just copy this, Control C, and then paste, and then just change the variables accordingly. So I don't want this to be the up push button. I want this to be the down, and then move down. Then elevator is down. Then move up. So the opposite. And then move down. Okay. And that's it. That's our very simple application. This is not a guide on how to program a freight elevator. It's just an introduction to Codesys. Keep that in mind. Disclaimer, no lawsuits. Okay, so this is our control application. How do we test it? If I have the hardware, very simple. I just download this to the PLC and test it. But if I don't have the target hardware, it's very simple. There are two ways to test this program. The first one is simulation. And we can find the option in the online menu. Online menu, you'll see the option there, simulation. And so if I click on it, you will see that simulation is activated. In the bottom is indicating simulation. So I can see that it's enabled. So when simulation, it runs the program inside the development system. So you don't need to connect to a PLC to test your program. It will run your application within the development system. The disadvantage is that it doesn't have access to the outside world, meaning that it can't run field buses. But it's great to test code that doesn't need that. This code doesn't need that, so we're good. The second option is to use Codesys Control Win on our PC. So we can start our PLC and download that to this soft PLC, and then we can simulate that way as well. So I enable simulation. I'll start with simulation. And in order to download the application to my simulator, I have to log in. So I hit login. I hit yes. So I've logged in. Now note the declaration area changed. And now it becomes a variable monitoring view. Now I can see their values, their current values, right? Then also the implementation area. Let me close all these. The implementation area now is showing variable status and values. The application is not running at the moment because the PLC is stopped. You can see that at the bottom, stop. And then next to the application, it says stop. So we have to start the PLC. We do that by hitting the play button. And now it's in run mode. So PLC is running. So this is, again, this is we're not connected to a PLC, we're simulating a connection to a PLC. It's all running here. So to test the program, okay, so if I have to prepare a value, here there's a prepare value column. So I just double click to change the value from false to true, and then I can write it. I right click and write it. And now I am moving up. Okay, so that seems to be correct. It should stop once the limit switch for elevator is up is activated. So let me simulate that. First, I'm going to release the push button, and then elevator is up. Right click, right. Okay, so it reached the limit switch and it stopped. So it seems to be working properly. Okay, but we can do a better job in simulating this. Okay, so it will be easier to test our logic if we had the emergency stop, the push buttons, the limit switches, so we don't have to be toggling variable values. We could have a more realistic simulation. So we can create some logic to simulate the elevator movement, and we can also develop HMI screens in Codesys at no cost. So we can create a very simple screen to simulate our push buttons and see how the program behaves. So I'll start with the simulation logic. Okay, so I'll create a new variable that I've called position. And this variable will tell me the simulated position of my elevator. So what I'll do is that while we're sending the move up command, I will decrement the position value. So the logic to do that, I can add a box with enable, drag it here, and then I can say whenever it's moving up, and I need to define what I'm going to do here. I want to subtract. I want to subtract the value of position by 1 and put the result back in that variable position. And then I need to compare if that position, if the position value is less or equals than 0, then I want to say the elevator is up. So I drag another box with enable. I can put it here. And then I want to do this comparison every time. So I just say true. Now this box will execute all the time. So I do less or equal, or you can find those. I remember what the syntax is, but you can, if you don't know, you can look here in the math operators and you can look for the options. This is less or equal. So you can just drag that from here and put it there. So I will compare the value of position. If it's less or equal than 0, then I want to simulate that the limit switch activated. The limit switch that the elevator is up. Okay, so that's the first part of my simulation. Then I need to add the logic to simulate when the elevator is going up. So I can just copy these two and paste, and I'll change the variables accordingly. So this will be now, if it's moving down, instead of subtract, I want to add. So I just changed that right here. Position will add and put that value back to position. And then I need to, instead of less or equals, this is greater or equals than, and I'll say 400. And I change the name of the variable to down. This logic will make more sense once we simulate it. Okay, so then I can simulate this. Log in. And see, it's the limit switch is telling me that the elevator's up, so I can move it down, push button down. And now it's moving down, as you can see here, and the position is incrementing. Once it reaches 400, it tells me the elevator is down. I can move it up. It's going up. As you can see here, it's moving up, and position is decreasing until it got to 0. It activated the limit switch. It's up signal. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. Now I can do an even better job. I can add a visualization, a very simple screen, so I can simulate push buttons and see how the program behaves that way. So in Codesys, we had a really good session earlier this week on visualization, and I know that my skills are not in the visualization or HMI screen development, so bear with me, but I just want to show you what you will be capable of doing. So you right click on the application, then you add an object, and then you select visualization. Okay, and then you can give it a name. I can name this elevator simulation. And then add. And then we wait a couple of seconds as Codesys is adding those components to our project. It's adding libraries and all stuff that is required to support the visualization. Okay, so now we have the visualization objects in new objects in the device tree. If you expand this visualization manager, you see two objects here. You see a target visu, you see a web visu. Target visu is used if the PLC has a display. My computer has a monitor. So I could use this function, and when I ran this application, my monitor will be filled up with the screen that I developed. So that's target visu. Web visu is used if the PLC has a web server and you want to use a web browser to access the screens that way. We are not going to use any of these options in this demo, so I'm just going to delete both. And I'll just keep the visualization manager and the actual screen that I will develop. So if I open my elevator simulation screen, you see here on the right side, we have a visualization toolbox, and it has different categories. So I have my basic, I have rectangle, I have shapes that I can add, images, common controls. We have text labels, selection boxes, buttons. For my application, I just need lamps and switches. Okay, so I go to the lamp switches and bitmaps category, and then I can drag and drop a push button. They're called push switches here in Codesys. So I add one of those. And then when you select it, now you can see on the right, we have properties. So here I can assign the variable. So I double click on the little buttons here, and then I can browse through my application and go find the variable I want to assign to this button. I want this to be my up push button. I can also change the color. This is gray right now. I can make this blue if I want. So you'll see a little ring inside that and now changed to blue. You have two different behaviors for a push button. This can be a toggler, so it'll toggle the signal every time you click it, or it can behave like an actual push button, and that's called in Codesys image tapper. So I have to click tapper, and then I need another one to go down, so I can just control and copy and paste, and I'll put it down here. And I just need to change the variable assigned to it. This will be PB down instead. And I just now I just want I need the emergency stop. So for that, I go back to the toolbox and look for a power switch. I'll put it right here and assign it to a variable. I will go to my emergency stop. And then I need lights. I want to know when the elevator is going up and when it's going down. So I'll put a lamp. Select the variable. When it's moving up. And then I can just copy and paste. And when it's going down, right here. Okay, and I can line these up. There are options here to line up components horizontally or vertically. I can hit, where is it? Right here, line them up and make this look prettier. But that's not my intention right now. We don't have a lot of time, so I'll just play around a little bit. Okay, so I have this, and now to simulate, I can just drag this to the right and dock it here on this side so I can see both. I can see my logic and I can see my visualization. And then I log in with download, hit OK. Move this more to the side and then start my PLC. Okay, I want to move up. Press the up button. What's going on? Oh, it's already up. So if I press down, it's going down. And it's down. If I want to go up, it's going up. If I want to stop it, emergency stop, let go of the emergency stop, keep going up. Okay, so this could be even better. You can add more visualization and actually simulate the elevator. I did that already. They wouldn't have all the time in the world to go through all how to develop the visualization. So I have a complete project right here. See, and you can add images. So I found this image of a pile of boxes. I made this little elevator. Like I said, I am not. This is not one of my talents to develop HMI screens. So this is the best I could do for this presentation. But you can develop amazing screens with Codesys. So let's try this one. And start it, and then go down. It's going down. It's gonna hit the limit switch. And go up. And stop it. Stop it. Go back down. Oops. Go back down. So then you have a full simulation right here in Codesys, simulated your complete application, and you haven't spent any money so far until you have to get the hardware, right? The other option, I could, so in order to test this application on an actual PLC, we do have the control win here, so I can start my PLC. And now I need to get out of simulation. And then I need to establish communications, a connection to that PLC. So I double click on the device, and you'll see communication settings at the top. You have to scan for that device. So you hit the scan network option. And in my case, I see two devices. I see this one that is grayed out. And the reason for that is that this device that I have in my network is a Raspberry Pi. I can look that up here. Codesys control for Raspberry Pi. It's in my network. But this device has a runtime for Raspberry Pi. It doesn't match what my target device is in my project. I can download my project to a device that is running Codesys Control Win B364-bit. So that's why this one is not grayed out. I am able to download my code to that device. I hit OK. And then I can log in. And start. And now my application is running on an actual soft PLC running on my PC, but that same PLC could be an external device, right? Could be a device running on your network, like the example I gave you. I showed you that there was a Raspberry Pi. You could download that to any device in your network that is running a Codesys runtime. Okay, the next point is our learning resources. Now that you've retained all the information that I've given you, what can you do next to learn more? One of the best ways to get started is to take one of our training courses. They are all instructor-led. They're hands-on. They're fully interactive. You receive a copy of the training material used in the class for your personal use, and you also get a certificate of completion. We offer several types of courses multiple times during the year. Let me show you. Let me go to our website. For details on each training, dates and locations, you would go to, excuse me, just moving stuff around here. You go to codesys.us. That's our main page. And then from the menu, you click on menu, and then you look for Codesys Training North America. And here you will see our complete training catalog. Scroll down, you see Codesys Essentials, Intensive, Transitioning from Siemens to Codesys, Transitioning from Rockwell to Codesys, and a soft motion training. Okay, so some of them are offered regularly to the general public, and some others are available on demand. So for example, the soft motion training, we do schedule them maybe once or twice a year, but if it's here, you can also email us at us-training@codesys.com, and you can request a private training. Okay, so here you find out our full training catalog. To see what courses are currently available to the public, you can go directly to our store, or if you're here and you're interested in seeing contents and dates, you can just click here, and you will see what dates are available. Then you click the Book Now button. It will take you to the store, so you can see, so you can register. Or you can go directly to the store, us.store.codesys.com, and then you click on the Training and Events section. And then you can see what's currently open to the public right now. So we have a transitioning from Rockwell to Codesys starting on October 13th. And this is a 16-hour class targeted for ControlLogix PLC programmers, so they can learn how their existing ControlLogix knowledge can be applied in Codesys. This class is currently, the registration closed actually yesterday, but if you are interested to sign up today, we can open registration for today, so you can sign up. There are a few seats available. That starts next week, October 13th, and the cost is $1,000. Then we have the Codesys Intensive Training. We have an online class starting on November 25th and another one starting on December 6th. This is a 30-hour class, and it's our most comprehensive training. This class combines our basic and advanced modules into one 4-day class or 30-hour class. And it's great for control engineers who have some experience with industrial controls programming and are new to Codesys, or even have some experience with Codesys but want to take their knowledge to the next level. Because like I said, it combines basic and advanced modules into one. We also have the Codesys Essentials Training. This is a 16-hour class perfect for those who are new to Codesys and would like to learn the basic features and concepts of Codesys and the IEC 61131-3 programming languages. This is the last public class of this year, and it's unfortunately sold out. Well, fortunately for some of you, fortunately for us, we will offer it again starting in January of next year. If you don't want to wait until January, we could schedule a private training if you have a group of up to 8 people, or you can take the intensive class either this month or in December. There are also many free resources available starting with the online help. To access that site, you just go to help.codesys.com, and this is actually the documentation for the Codesys development system. Here you can find a tutorial called Your First Codesys Program. You click on the Codesys Development System section, and the second option is Your First Codesys Program, and it's step-by-step instructions on how to create a simple application. Okay, it's a lot of text, but it's there for you to follow if you learn that way, if you like doing that kind of stuff. We also have the Codesys Forge. The address is forge.codesys.com, and there are several sections within the Forge, but one of them is the examples. You can find many project samples here. They're all free of charge, and they are meant to help you learn how to use different libraries or how to implement applications. Okay, and all these projects have comments, so you can understand how they work. So a lot of examples. The next resource is the Codesys FAQ. The Codesys FAQ page is a place to find step-by-step instructions to frequently asked questions. The website is faq.codesys.com. And for example, if you have a Raspberry Pi and you want to learn how to set it up with the runtime, there's an article for that here. Maybe I'll just search for Raspberry Pi. Codesys control. Yeah, you see here how you can set up a Raspberry Pi with the Codesys runtime on it. And also we have a YouTube channel. If you go to our website, our main website, codesys.us, you'll see right at the top a YouTube link. You just click on that, and it will take you to our YouTube channel. And we put our product marketing team does a really good job putting out videos. This one, for example, talks about what's new in Service Pack 17. It goes through the new features. They're actually pretty funny to watch. They're really well done. Or you can find webinars on how to use the Codesys Git, for example, OPC UA in Codesys, HMI. A lot of resources are available here on the YouTube channel. So I hope you learned something today. It was a pleasure to host this session.